It was night time in Trafalgar Square. The base of the column had reverted to type, with nothing to expose the recent passage of the bounty hunter and the actor, the only witness being an unobserved drunk, and he was blaming the bottle. He wouldn't tell. Deep underground the city of London, Vanguard and Dramascus entered the overseer's office. It was very large, with a combination of feminine elegance and state-of-the-art efficiency. One half was taken up by a conference-sized mahogany desk, on which a sophisticated control pad gave access to each of the levels on video screens across the walls. These in turn could be subdivided into specific rooms upon touch button preference. The desk faced two chairs at angles on either side. Seated behind the desk was the overseer. She saw her two would-be protégés enter and felt a tingle of excitement. This was her baby, and she was convinced they had what it took. Behind her, the bar automatically poured 3 drinks. Champagne and the personnel guards flanked Vanguard and Dramascus. "Before you get any ideas," warned the overseer, indicating Gareth, "it has the face of butter, but the karate chop of Madame Guillotine." Dramascus surmised the femme fatales handled external security, the male personnel guards internal security. Body heat sensors and pressure pads to the floor acted in harmony with the air conditioning system to register the presence of 6 people. It corrected the oxygen level accordingly. The overseer placed the drinks on a tray. "A bourbon for Mr. Vanguard." "Don't bother on my account. I won't be staying," said Vanguard. The overseer smiled in vague disbelief. "You might find a drink will help." "I don't want a drink. I want answers." "Well, you've come to the right place for those." She turned to Dramascus with a glass of vintage champagne. He took his. The overseer smiled again and leant against her desk, a Bloody Mary to hand and all the nonchalance of a queen bee, though she noticed Dramascus's black-gloved hand with concern, the hand he had forgotten about in the melee. Bouts of repressed throbbing surfaced through the painkillers, and Dramascus placed it behind his back, out of sight. "I am the overseer." "Don't you have a name?" asked Vanguard. "I have a title. I am not allowed to divulge my name," she responded, adding, "to anyone." "Wonder why not?" said Dramascus. "Please, be seated." The overseer pressed a control, and 2 black swivel chairs sprang up from checkered squares in the floor. Dramascus sat, and Vanguard remained standing. The overseer regarded the latter like a schoolmistress with an errant pupil, whose full potential ought not to immunise him from punishment. From her position, she could see he was standing on a white square. She pressed a control, and the square moved down. Vanguard jerked forward, then looked around as he drew level with Dramascus and the overseer. He angrily climbed out of the floor, sitting on the chair provided. "I am the Director of Operations to T.I.G.H.T.R.O.P.E, said the overseer. "Tightrope?" Dramascus hesitated. "I've never heard of it." "You are within the headquarters of Tightrope now," she responded. "Some new talent agency, maybe," suggested Dramascus jokingly. He turned to Vanguard. "Have you heard of it?" Vanguard shook his head impatiently. Dramascus returned to the overseer. "And what does the acronym Tightrope stand for?" "The inner governing hierarchy to resist oppressive protagonist elements." The inner governing hierarchy. Dramascus struggled to remember. The inner governing hierarchy to resist oppressive protagonist elements. Tightrope. The overseer spoke with certitude. "Which is, and I feel a monologue coming on," said Dramascus. "Then let me be brief." There was a hint of protest in the overseer's voice. T.I.G.H.T.R.O.P.E was formed on September the 12th, 2001 to fight extraordinary crime and global terrorism to this country and our transatlantic, European and Commonwealth allies. "As in some kind of spy bureau?" exclaimed Dramascus. "We are an ultra-secret annex of British intelligence with close links to the American CIA and major European and Commonwealth secret services," said the overseer. "Are we now?" said Dramascus. And what has that got to do with us? Demanded Vanguard. You think we're global terrorists or unusual criminals? I put my life on the line in the name of this democracy. We are seeking creative individuals to help us in our crusade. Crusade, repeated Vanguard. Yes, to fight extraordinary crime and global terrorism wherever it manifests and however necessary, using whatever means, talents the individual has to offer. The overseer was keen to add, I have a mandate to use whatever means at my disposal. Dramascus swallowed the rest of the wine, only his throat was dry. The overseer was looking directly at him, the hint of a smile on her lips. It was becoming all too clear. He had been set up to work as a secret agent. At this stage, Dramascus didn't know whether to feel outraged or flattered. Including kidnapping. We are on a crusade against the forces of evil, said the overseer. You're on something, said Vanguard. I want you to utilise your expertise as special operatives for this bureau. Vanguard and Dramascus exchange looks. They have both been set up to become spies. Not that they had much time to take stock, for the overseer was ramping up her mandatory sales pitch. Your physical endurance, she turned to Vanguard, and your abilities of security penetration, she turned to Dramascus. Vanguard did a double take on the actor. He ain't really no jewel thief. Dramascus swallowed as the overseer played back footage of the T.I.G.H.T.R.O.P.E crest robbery. As he made his getaway on screen, Dramascus covered his face sheepishly. Vanguard's mouth opened and stayed that way. Yes, Mr. Vanguard, said the overseer. He is. What better cover for a spy than a fictional one? So the Dupois knew all along, asked Dramascus. The overseer advised that Jakes and Simone had renewed ownership of the crest and an explanation given of a drunken prank. She knew what the two men would say next, and it was important to maintain her authority. You think we're going to be spies for you? Vanguard was incredulous. He turned from the overseer to Champagne, deriding their naivety. One little piece of the jigsaw had slipped into place. The overseer was Champagne's mysterious employer. We prefer special operatives, utilising your skills and, the overseer to Dramascus, in your case criminal alter ego. The word criminal was spat out, for the common good. I would add that your double life falls within our jurisdiction. The copycat always returned his spoils, Dramascus was quick to point out. It was one of the reasons the media had seized on the likelihood of a copycat thief. I did it for the thrill of the chase. So she's got you over a barrel, but not me, said Vanguard. No, not me, sister. Right drink, wrong guy. The answer is no. Vanguard turned to Dramascus, who nodded. They rose and made for the door. The personnel guards blocked their way without making eye contact. The overseer looked to Vanguard. Mr. Cairo was a menace. We had to put a stop to him. He was alive when I left him. Yes, as you left him. Vanguard considered the implication. The overseer produced two documents with a checkered cover and labyrinthine green edging. One was headlined Alexander Dramascus, the Masquerader. The other, Ryan Vanguard, the Competent. This is an offer you can't refuse, said the overseer, matter-of-factly. Following a period of basic training, you'll be required to help us on selected assignments, whether individually or as a duo. Don't get me wrong, we want you to maintain your lifestyles on the surface, as it were. The overseer gazed upwards with a strangely wistful expression. You wouldn't be working for us all the time. A day, a week, or longer. At a time, that is. Very generous, said Dramascus. On the surface, he shuddered to himself. And if we don't agree to your terms, I suppose we will never get to see the light of day again. The overseer duly ran video footage, frozen at the point of his masquerader getaway. Blackmail. Common blackmail, said Dramascus readily. The overseer shuffled the files, eager to get back to the main business at hand. In the small print of your contracts, I can take an option to use your services for anything between 6 months and 5 years. I'll take the 6 months. Dramascus had come to a decision and reached out to sign. In return, we'll say farewell to charging you for any past misdemeanours, said the overseer. Very kind, bearing in mind we'll now be placed in situations of extreme peril. I have every confidence in both of you. I really think you'll make a wonderful team and a difference to our crusade. You're not going to sign, said Vanguard. I have no alternative. You may be luckier. Dramascus shot a pessimistic glance the overseer's way. Do I sign as Alexander Dramascus, or would you prefer the Masquerader? Either, confirmed the overseer pleasantly, since I've already concluded they are one and the same man. Strictly under duress. Then again, hadn't well-known people worked as spies in the past? One or two may even have died in mysterious circumstances. His hand hovered over the signature line, the hand that was hurting. Oh well, while there was life, there was hope. Your hand, the overseer made to intervene. Yes, yes, yes. Dramascus shooed her away as he scribbled his real name. Champagne stepped forward to bear witness. You won't get away with this, said Vanguard. You are not in a position to make that judgment, said the overseer. That wasn't a judgment, it was a promise. You must understand, we will do anything to fight and win our crusade. To fight fire, you must use fire, and whatever unconventional means. We are facing an opponent of implacable evil. We cannot hope to win without you two on board. As Vanguard scribbled across the official and unofficial Secrets Acts, Dramascus frowned curiously as the overseer made a move on a chess set, which was reflected on a video screen. First, let me escort you on a guided tour of T.I.G.H.T.R.O.P.E headquarters. With that, the overseer activated a control and the desk skimmed away from her. An extract from Cloak and Dagger opening Gambit, Chapter 14, Elevator Pitch. Vanguard was all for a guided tour. The more he knew about this clandestine operation, the more he could use against the overseer. He was also equally sure she had overreached herself if she thought she could expect no comebacks. In the meantime, for Dramascus, the sentence, "This is an offer you can't refuse," held true. If they refused, Vanguard would face involvement in Mr. Cairo's death, and he a criminal conviction for the theft of the Dupois crest. The overseer couldn't have picked a better moment to spring her trap, as his fictional alter ego made off with the one and only artifact he'd ever bungled on screen. Then there was the Masquerader franchise to take into account. Even though the series was ongoing, he was indisputably the historical keystone. Corrupt that with a jail sentence, and it was doubtful even today's celebrity culture could spin it around. Vanguard, Dramascus, the Overseer, Champagne, Gareth, and another personnel guard, Austin, 25, black, formidable, utterly loyal, stepped into a roomy lift. The Overseer pressed for level 1. T.I.G.H.T.R.O.P.E headquarters is the largest spy bureau in the world, said the Overseer somewhat airily. It can offer its personnel unlimited resources. Except freedom, said Dramascus. Don't forget, everyone else, including myself, wants to work here, said Champagne. Then why pick on the ones who don't, complained Vanguard. You two would make a difference to the common good, said Champagne. Just not our good, said Dramascus. Believe me, everybody's good. This is the only way you can still be the Masquerader. As Dramascus took this somewhat ruefully, Champagne turned to Vanguard, and you, the combatant. Kinda remains to be seen, scoffed Vanguard. The lift stopped at level 1, garage, but they did not get out. The floor indicator and map guide revealed the level and part of the wall, the garage. Level 1, garage. Level 2, crematorium. Level 3, recuperation and living. Level 4, communal. Level 5, archives. Level 6, training and gadgetry. Level 7, operations. Level 8, interrogation. Level 9, security. Level 10, administration, the Overseer. We'll start at the top and work our way down, said the Overseer. The lift went into smooth silk hyperdrive. with the doors opening out onto, and we'll skim to Level 6, Training and Gadgetry, the Operatives Arena. The room was vast. A checkered floor constructed of marble, on which Vanguard and Dramascus stepped in astonishment. 2 sets of man-sized black and white chess pieces were in position, creating tapering shadows on the board. They took in the antique Fattorini clock on the far wall, the Greek pillars, and the sundial dead centre. What on earth? Trailed off Dramascus. And there was something else. A maze of corresponding size to the chessboard layout hovered in suspension above them. "What's that doing there?" said Vanguard. The overseer moved beside them. "It's waiting for the game to begin." She strode across the arena to the White Queen chess piece. "We call this the Operatives Arena and use it for training of the mind and body." The overseer pressed the entry pad on the side of the White Queen. It slid across, revealing a chair in front of a PC and video screen. "And all the chess pieces are filled with recruits?" Dramascus leant beside the side of the White Queen. "Yes, for combat conditions. The operative's result is recorded and he continues with his training." "You rely very much upon the imagery of chess, don't you?" "The chess look was my motif," said the overseer. "White is white, black is black." "Isn't that oversimplifying it?" said Dramascus. "Perhaps, but it's good for morale." "What happens to captured or checkmated pieces?" asked Vanguard. "You had to hand it to the woman. She was completely bonkers, but you may as well be hung for a sheep as a lamb." From inside the White Queen chess piece, the overseer pressed a control. "In the case of captured pieces," she began. The maze contracted to one side of the ceiling as a giant electronically operated hand, cuff-linked and pinstriped in Savile Row, descended towards the black chess pieces. The giant hand hovered for a moment, its manicured fingers making a selection, before seizing up a black pawn and ascending back through the ceiling from view. Vanguard and Dramascus exchanged looks. "You'll meet the head of gadgetry later," said the overseer.